Welcome back to Short Legs Dark Tales, the coziest corner for curious minds. I'm Penny, your pint-sized narrator with a nose for mystery and a tale that never lies. Today, we're sniffing out Chapter 7 of The Woman in White, where secrets stir and shadows speak. So settle in, tails tucked, and let's get reading. Chapter 7. When I had left the last houses in the suburb behind me, I drew the letter from my pocket and read it again. I had been walking, as the reader is already aware, with the purpose of recovering, in some degree, my usual composure. I paused when I had read the letter and looked about me for a shady place. A bank rose at the roadside, and the trees above it threw their shadows thickly across the road. I turned aside and sat down under them. I had now complete leisure to examine the letter. It was very short, and very clearly written in a graceful, pointed hand. Dear Sir, the conduct of Mr. Fairley has made me desirous of confiding to you the particulars of the conversation which took place in my presence between him and the persons he invited to his house. It is my earnest wish to furnish you with the means of justifying yourself in the opinion of those whose esteem you most value. I enclose a statement of what passed, signed with my name. Believe me, yours truly, Marian Holcombe. It was hard, under the circumstances, to form any just estimate of the value of this letter and the enclosure which accompanied it. Harder still, perhaps, to avoid construing the motive that animated the writer into something of a romantic nature. But I tried honestly to do justice to Miss Holcombe's real motives, and not to estimate her letter by my own unworthy suspicions. In doing so, I went over and over again the words that had caught my eye. The particulars of the conversation which took place in my presence. I enclose a statement of what passed. That part of the letter I marked out in my mind. It seemed to offer indirectly an answer to the question I had been asking myself. An answer which, if I accepted it, relieved me from much, at least of the perplexity into which my own brain had wandered. At the same time, I noticed with curiosity that Miss Holcombe, though she mounted her high moral errand with extreme precision, made no reserve of the fact that was most likely to awaken comment. Nothing could be more courteous, nothing more rightly civil. Yet it was obvious that the writer to whom she spoke would have found in her letter, if not that which he had feared, at least that which he had long meditated. I felt ashamed of my suspicion, and vexed with myself for suffering it to recur. If the folly of a man had driven me into uncertainty on my own account, why should I exact from Miss Holcombe that frankness and confidence which would have cost me more to refuse a friend than an enemy? I acknowledged that she meant to do me good, and to spare me pain. But pain I must feel, and I must suffer my purpose through. It was growing dark when I reached home. I found the two ladies in the dining room, Mrs. Vere carrying a lamp, and Marian reading aloud at the table. I entered silently, and took the lamp from the hand of Mrs. Vere. Your walk has refreshed you, Walter, she said. It has, I replied, refreshment of a very legal sort. Ah, that tells us you have done something. Yes. I have been to the end of the letter which you wrote to me. Marian rose quietly. That was the letter, she said, which came to the door. Yes, and the writer has sent a statement? She does. Is it enclosed? Yes. Have you read it? Not yet. Why not? I shall read it presently. I walked across the room. Marian looked at me questioningly, with her hand upon her lips. I spoke to her with my usual courtesy. Miss Holcombe, I said, I would rather hear it from you. I should like to know your opinion. She laid aside her book, light enough reading to judge by the look it wore, and came across the floor. She helped me across the arms of my chair, took the bundle of papers from my hand, and seating herself at my side, broke the seal. This, she said, is the letter. Will you read that first? Certainly. She read in clear tones the letter of the morning. But, she said, before we go any further, let me read you the statement. I accepted the papers and handed them across to her. She read, in that serious voice of hers, the statement that had been sent to me. It contained a minute account of the conversation, in which my name was frequently mentioned. Nothing was omitted which was said on the part of any person present. and there was no statement but bore the writer's signature. My eyes followed each line. The circumstances already known to me were thus rendered clear. The behavior of Mr. Fairley, previously only to be inferred, was made distinctly intelligible. The interpretation I had formed of his language in his study was confirmed by the evidence of his speech immediately preceding my arrival on the scene. The observation of the rest of the company wore the coloring that naturally followed from this confirmation. But I could discover no intention in their proceedings, a design, a motive, or a purpose. In short, no explanation that would explain the real fact. Willicity by itself was accompanied by humility. Ignorance was only offset by courtesy. Omission was made up in courtesy. The whole thing, as narrated by Miss Holcombe, lay before me in all its naked verity, an isolated group of well-bred people gathered together by hospitality, who had talked, in season and out of season, on the subject nearest to their hearts and lips, and my name, my position, my claim on Mr. Fairley's patronage, and on the goodwill of his friends and family, had supplied the characters in their conversation. I laid aside the papers. Marian stopped short in her reading. According to the report of Wilkie Collins's prose, and considering the audience, myself and Marian, we were both well enough for our purpose. "Is that all?" I asked. "Yes." "And is that signed?" She laid my hand upon the signature, written boldly across the bottom of the page. "Marian Holcombe." "I want no more evidence," I said. "You have done more than justice." "Oh, yes," she replied in that grave manner of hers. "Yes." "Well then," I resumed, shining the lamp upon the table, "I will read and reply to this letter at once." I took up the letter and wrote upon the envelope, "To Miss Marian Holcombe, Hascombe, Surrey." Then I looked at the signature and wrote below my name, "P.S. I feel certain your motive, meant to warrant generosity, though it may have been prompted also by kindness, is disinterested. Will you forgive the word?" The same thought pursued me while I folded the letter ready for the post. I was not going to conceal from Miss Holcombe that I had been selfish in what I said. I happened to touch the bell as I finished my writing. No answer. I pressed again. The footman answered at last, and I gave him the letter, with instant order for delivery. I then laid aside the pen and looked at Marian. She made me smile in her serious face. I felt stronger for that. All things should be possible now. She held out her hand. I took it and pressed it between my own. This is the best day I have known since my return to England," I breathed. Whew, that chapter had more twists than my tale during Zoomies. Thank you for joining me on Short Legs, Dark Tales, where even the smallest paws can uncover the biggest mysteries. Don't forget to shake off the suspense and meet me next time for Chapter 8. Until then, stay curious, stay cozy, and keep your nose to the ground. Bye for now, friends.